Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. Initially released in Japan in the year 2000 and later released internationally in 2001, an absolute classic RPG, has a great story and an awesome cast of characters. If you have not played this game, I highly recommend it. It is one of, if not, the best games I've ever played. Now at this current time, the any percent world record for this game is 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 26 seconds, while the glitchless world record for this game is 3 hours, 40 minutes, and 22 seconds. That is just over a 2-hour difference between the two, and I wanted to break down what makes this all possible. Also, I don't know if my analytics are broken, but apparently none of my viewers are subscribed. So if you dig the video, consider subscribing and liking it. It helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks. Enjoy the video. I just wanted to mention that Paper Mario plays like a very typical RPG, where HP represents health, FP represents mana, and BP represents special points that can be used to equip badges for an extra boost. And you can level up Mario to increase any one of these attributes. But Paper Mario also has a unique mechanic, where if you press the Z button, you spin, and you will see it used throughout the run because spinning, then jumping out of spin, and doing this over and over is the fastest way to move around. Paper Mario is speedrun on the Japanese version of the game, because the text is faster and there are some Japanese version exclusive glitches for this game that I will mention when we come across them. First, I want to explain the glitchless speedrun. It's fairly simple. We must beat the game without doing any glitches, which essentially means we must go through each chapter, beat the boss for that chapter, and collect the card that houses the trapped star spirit. Once we have all 7 cards, or have freed all 7 star spirits, we must go up to Bowser's castle, beat Bowser, and claim the star rod. The speedrun ends shortly after once all movement and text boxes have been cleared. And the point that has been picked to end the speedrun is when Peach raises her arms right before the credits roll. Now we have the any percent speedrun, and the rules are very simple. Beat the game as fast as possible by any means necessary, besides cheating. Now that's easy to understand. Let's take a look at the map. I thought this was a cool feature added into the game that shows where Mario is on a stylized map of the world. So I've placed pixelated Paper Marios on the map to show where Mario travels throughout the world on the 2 different routes. As both routes progress through the game, you'll notice up to Chapter 1, the routes don't seem to differ much at all. You'll also notice that the glitchless route is acting how you'd expect anybody would travel through the world when beating the game. But if we look at the any percent route, once we get back to Toad Town, we are magically transported to Chapter 5 and are proceeding through the game much faster than intended. We've come back to Toad Town, gotten all the seeds, and are going to Flower Fields now for some reason, and then we go back to the volcano and are magically transported to Chapter 6. We come back to Toad Town and once again go back to the volcano, where we are transported to Chapter 7, come back to Toad Town once again, we have all the star spirits, so we're heading to Star Haven and off to Bowser's castle to beat the game. So we finished the game much faster with the any percent route, which is to be expected as we have glitches to use at our disposal. As we can see, we finished way ahead of Glitchless. Glitchless is still in Chapter 7 here and we'll be finishing up shortly, but what I want to get into is what exactly is happening in the any percent speedrun that allows us to beat the game so quickly. The Glitchless run is about to finish up here, and there you go. Now let's break down what happens in the any percent speedrun. The first major difference is called Junior Troopa Skip, which allows us to acquire the hammer without having to fight Junior Troopa. And we accomplish this by doing LZS jumps, or loading zone storage jumps. 13 ideally to make it to the bush that contains the hammer. The way LZS jumps work is if we jump in the loading zone with a neutral stick position, on the frame that we land, we can jump. Once we have frame perfectly jumped in the loading zone, we must continue to frame perfectly jump or the loading zone will load. So to utilize this, we can move while in the air but must have a neutral stick when we land, and also press the jump button frame perfectly each time we land. This results in jumping to the bush and ignoring the Junior Troopa fight. We then make our way to Toad Town, picking up Close Call along the way for the final fights, then to Shooting Star Summit, and then back to Toad Town. Next we have Black Toad Skip, which skips the toads blocking the path to Koopa Road that force you to talk to Merlon to get rid of them. First we clip in using this green toad, whose movement is RNG based and can end runs if he doesn't stop on the right side soon enough. Next we fall right and land on the corner of the post office. We stall using a spin, then jump and perform a series of positions on the stick and skip right past the black toads to start Chapter 1. Now we don't actually need to beat Chapter 1. We come to Chapter 1 for 3 important things. First to get Cooper, second to get Bombette, and third to get the badge Power Bounce. I'll explain Power Bounce later, but it plays a crucial role in speedruns of this game. There's one thing worth mentioning that is fast in Chapter 1, and that is staircase skip. So if you just come to the top of the stairs while they're still suspended here, and edge down, you can actually jump to the basement. And since there are no stairs, we can jump through the floor and line up with the loading zone upstairs. Now you may have noticed we are actually downstairs in this room, and that is because we hadn't triggered the cutscene that occurs with Mario coming out the bottom door. A side effect of this is the door being left open because there's a lock on the other side. Now that we have Cooper, Bombette, and Power Bounce, we make our way back to Toad Town. But there's still logs blocking our way. Don't worry, we have a skip for that called, strangely enough, Log Skip. Very creative. Now the world record run uses LZS jumps to skew the angle we enter the loading zone, which allows us to fall out of bounds and skip past the logs. This is the faster way, but the world record was done on Wii U, which reduces lag in Toad Town to make the LZS jumps more viable. On N64, for instance, the lag makes doing LZS jumps much more difficult. The way that most runners skip the logs is to clip out using Ralph, the shopkeeper, then essentially doing a form of LZS without jumps by falling out of bounds, touching the loading zone, then coming back to land at an angle that achieves the same as LZS jumps. We grab the pink seed and we are off for Mount Rugged, and we only need a few things here: Paracarry, the purple seed, and some whack-a-bumps. We can jump very precisely up onto this rock to get one of the letters early, which barely saves time and is considered highly risky. Most runners don't do it. And instead of backtracking to get paracarried across the gap to the seed, a hole was actually found in this wall that can be punctured by buffering a specific angle, then doing these strange hammer cancel jumps, and then spinning through. We stall using a menu to not pop out past the rock, then drop down and jump out of bounds under the gap and pop up right next to the seed. Once we have the things we need, we come back to Toad Town. We have triggered Chapter 2, so the badge shop is now open. We have been collecting coins throughout the run, and we need 50 coins for the badge we need. And that badge is Speedy Spin. You know how we spin throughout the run because it's fast, right? Well, Speedy Spin increases the speed and distance of each spin, so it's essential to grab for the speedrun. Now getting Speedy Spin is actually RNG. As you can see, the badge shop has 3 spots for badges. The problem is there are 4 possible badges that can occupy those spots. So 25% of the time, Speedy Spin won't be there, and this is around a 25-second time loss because we have to go 2 rooms away to reload the shop, and there have been reports of the badge shop not having Speedy Spin 9 times in a row. Yikes. Once we have Speedy Spin, we come to one of the most broken glitches in the game, which allows us to skip multiple chapters. It's this house, this blue house right here. We can actually jump inside this house. Now jumping into this house isn't easy, and most people say it took them 5 hours or more just to get in one time. And I am included in those people. It took me 10 hours. It's called Blue House Skip. We come up next to the toad and perform a spin buffer, then jump directly left onto a ledge. We can frame perfectly jump off the ledge with a neutral stick. And once we hit this jump, we need to very quickly react and move the stick to up right and roll to up left. This all happens very quickly, but once we are done, we are in the house. We are blind, but we are in. We can grab the key in the corner and then go down the pipe. We make our way left until we reach blooper. Since we haven't triggered any other bloopers, this is just a regular blooper with 30 HP. Now here is where power bounce comes in. You can't just power bounce forever. When power bouncing, the game will randomly stop you after a certain number of bounces. This is called a cap. You can tell when you've missed a power bounce by the animation Mario does. If Mario drops close to the enemy, a bounce was missed, and if he bounces far back to his starting position, you've been capped. The way you are capped changes though, as different enemies will have different multipliers, and blooper has the highest multiplier in the speedrun. Highest in this case is good, and we are guaranteed an 8 cap or higher. The average for blooper is around a 10 cap. The speed of this fight is completely dependent on when you get capped, so losing time here is common. Power bounce caps will come in heavy towards the end of the speedrun, but we will get there later. The blue pipe pops up and we can go straight to chapter 5, and voila, we have skipped most of chapter 2 and chapters 3 and 4 completely. Next, we can skip the entire jungle and just go straight into the volcano by doing a trick called raft skip, where we paracarry behind the tree, then jump out of bounds around this loading zone, and make our way to the volcano by going out of bounds once again. The way this glitch is done in the video is Japanese exclusive, but there's another way to do it on the English version, but it is a little bit more difficult. After we have progressed a bit, we can jump out of bounds right down to this loading zone. We can even jump very trickily to get out of bounds and get directly to the Ultra Hammer, which we need to progress. This trick is considered quite risky for the little time save it accomplishes, so most runners don't do it. Next, we approach this rock wall that we need to break down, but actually, we can just paracarry through it. We can even skip the Colorado text here, but it is very precise. To end off chapter 5, we come to Colorado here with the spike that never broke through the rock wall, and simply clip out of bounds and fall onto the loading zone, which skips the chapter 5 boss Lava Piranha completely. Once done the chapter 5 Peach cutscene, we grab the yellow seed, then make our way back to Toad Town to grab the blue seed and head to Flower Fields. We won't be here long though. We start off chapter 6 with a glitch immediately, and it's LZS jumps. We jump all the way over to the other side of the room, then fall onto a seam in the next room. We then jump around the corner, jump out of bounds past this loading zone, and we have skipped basically all of chapter 6, and this trick is called Early Lackey. And the main reason we come to chapter 6 is to get Lackluster, or as he likes to be called, the homie Spike. After we get Lackluster, we grab the Ultra Boots in the sewer, then we are going all the way back to the volcano? Wait, why are we going to the volcano? Well, Lackluster can do something very special for us. Remember how we clipped through the rock and skipped Lava Piranha? Well, we can't anymore because Colorado is gone now, but we can do something else. If we wedge into this rock here, spin and hammer cancel left, and get on Lackey, we can pop out of bounds, but the first time we trigger a cutscene. If we do it again, we pop out and can fall to the loading zone below. At the bottom here, if we get on Lackey, then get off Lackey and walk to the right, if we time getting back on Lackey correctly, Lackey gets a burst of speed and we can pop right through this wall. We can then fall out of bounds and get to this loading zone. This is called Peach Warp. But what does this accomplish? Well, what happens is, we have now triggered the next Peach cutscene, so once it finishes, the game will think that we have beaten Chapter 6, and will teleport us to the end of Chapter 6 in Flower Fields. We grab the S Jump Charge badge real quick, and then we go, you may have guessed it, right back to the volcano where we perform another Peach Warp and teleport to the end of Chapter 7. Now that we have all the cards, we can make our way back to Shooting Star Summit, then to Starhaven, and onwards to Bowser's Castle. You might be thinking, Mario is only level 2. There is no way you can beat the game like this. Well, speedrunners always have a plan, and in this case, the plan has terrible odds. So instead of going through the basement, we actually just ride Lackey all the way to the left to this badge block, and we can spin jump on top of it, then paracarry across to skip the whole basement. We proceed to the Flood Room, which has a few skips. First, we become Jesus Mario by clipping out with Lackey. There's this weird effect where if we clip out and back in, we can fall out of bounds where the button came out. Now when we fall out of bounds, we acquire a Cooper Super Jump, which we use by lining up in the corner and then positioning ourselves under the key. Boom, we got it. We then clip out and down to the loading zone and drown. The run is over. Just kidding, we keep going right and open the door. We immediately do another glitch called Cannonless, shoutouts to Super Mario 64. We clip out of bounds with Lackey in a precise position, and fall onto the seam, move to the top of the room, then fall and land on the top seam to skip all the cannons. We have been preparing for the final fights up to this point with some items. We pick up a honey syrup, a whack-a-bump, 3 life shrooms, 2 maple syrups, a jam and jelly, a repel gel, and a tasty tonic. We don't really need the honey syrup and tasty tonic. What we really need is another repel gel for Final Bowser. A Japanese version exclusive glitch called item duplication can accomplish this. If we get on Lackey very close to an item and eat the bottom item while holding right, we eat the item and grab the item at the same time. We wait a bit for the glitch to take effect, because if you get off too soon, the dupe doesn't work. Then we throw the item we want to dupe, and it will overwrite the item in the inventory above it, in this case, Tasty Tonic, and also throw out another item that was selected, in this case, a repel gel. So now we have 2 repel gels. We then make our way through the castle without anything notable happening until we get to the Dupligos fight, or as we like to call it in the Paper Mario speedrunning community, the RNG gauntlet. So this is the final portion of the game, and it contains 4 fights. And that's right, all 4 fights are RNG dependent, so let's go through them. First we have the Dupligos fight, where the Dupligos have a chance to transform to the current partner on their turn. The chance of one changing is 60%, and we need at least 1 to transform or we will die, as 4 that don't transform does 12 damage and will kill Mario. If all 4 transform, that is fantastic luck. This saves time because we can just power bomb them and kill them all, as they are all bombette. Next up we have Junior Troopa, who we take out with a series of shell shots and charges, followed by a big power bounce. Now we have close call on for this fight, which causes an enemy to miss an attack if Mario has 5 HP or less, 30% of the time. So we can save a lot of time if we manage to get some close calls, because if we don't, we eat up life shrooms and a lot of time going through the life shroom animation. But ideally when we hit our big power bounce after charging up, we want a 5 cap to instant kill, because if we get a 3 cap, which is only a 2%, the run dies. You can still win with a 4 cap by using Starstorm, but it wastes a bit of time and it depends on how many close calls you get, because you may eat up too many life shrooms to continue. The odds for caps on Junior Troopa can be seen here. Next up we have Hallway Bowser, and this fight is an infamous run killer. On the second turn we have to hit a star power attack called Timeout. Now Timeout only has a 30% chance of hitting, which is why most runs that get here die, because it needs to hit or the run is over. This, on top of all the other RNG, makes Paper Mario a very tough game to speedrun, and we haven't even got to Final Bowser yet. If we manage to hit the timeout, Bowser is stunned for 3 turns, and we still need a good cap to win the fight. A 5 cap ideally for an insta-kill, but a 4 will kill with a para-carry hit, and a 3 cap means the run is over. The odds for caps can be seen here. And now we are off to the last boss, Final Bowser. In the first phase of Final Bowser, we charge and then shell shot, and then on the second turn we power bounce 3 times on purpose, then shell shot again. We only power bounce 3 times because we want to make sure Bowser's health is high enough so that he won't heal. The way that Bowser decides whether to heal or not is if Mario's % HP minus Bowser's % HP is greater than 25. So we do 23 damage, which drops Bowser's health to 76, and Bowser has 99 health to start, so Mario's % HP equals 100, minus Bowser's HP, which is equal to 76, will equal 24, which is less than 25, so we don't have to worry about Bowser healing. There is still much to be worried about though. The first phase of the fight is scripted, and on turn 2, Bowser will become invincible with the Star Rod, so we must use Star Beam to progress to the next phase of the fight. After the Peach, Twink, and Kammy Koopa fight scene, we are on to phase 2 of the fight. In this phase of the fight, we are going to charge a whole bunch because we can't damage Bowser anymore without him healing, so we have to deal all the damage at once. There are plenty of variations for the phase 2 Final Bowser fight, but I will just be covering one of the most common ones. We start off second phase by getting rid of Bowser's invincibility. Next we burn 2 life shrooms and get 2 supercharges off, but we need to watch out for a specific attack Bowser can pull out. This is the wave attack. Now the big problem with the wave attack is that if it hits Mario, it resets his charge. Bowser will most likely Star Shield on turn 4, but there is a chance that he can wave, and if he decides to wave, the run is dead. We repel gel after Bowser's Star Shields, then use a Gem and Jelly to regain FP for supercharges. We need 2 more charges and use the other repel gel because we only have so many life shrooms. Now we have 2 more things to worry about. Bowser's turn order matters. Because we are using the Power Rush badge that we picked up in the library before Hallway Bowser, we need to have less than 5 HP when we attack for the badge to take effect. This will result in a boost of 2 attack. If we manage to get an incorrect amount of close calls after our charges are done, Mario will have 10 HP and we will be in big trouble because Power Rush won't take effect and we won't do enough damage. That was problem 1. Problem 2 is that we need a good power bounce cap to get the kill. In fact, we need more than a 3 cap to kill. 5 is the best because that's an insta-kill, but if we get lucky, we can still kill with a 4 cap. The odds of getting a 3 cap are pretty high though, and if we get a 3 cap, the run dies. The odds for caps on Final Bowser can be seen here. And if the stars align and we are lucky enough to make it through the RNG gauntlet, beat Bowser and claim the Star Rod, we then continue on through the final portion of the game, which is just simple movement and some text boxes. And that is the any % speedrun of Paper Mario. This is a brutal speedrun with tough glitches and unforgiving RNG. At the top level, it is expected to have around a 1% chance of finishing based off of RNG alone. If you want to see speedrun attempts of this game, I highly recommend you check out I'm Glower on Twitch, who is the current longest consistent speedrunner of this game, and holds the any % and Glitchless world records. He also provided most of the gameplay used in the video, so thanks to him for that. If you want to try speedrunning this game after watching this video, you're probably crazy. But in the case you're crazy, you should check out the Paper Mario 64 speedrun.com page for resources. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing, it helps me out a lot, and if you have any other games you'd like me to cover, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.